All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning to officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as President of Basketball Business Operations for the Indiana Fever.
Nobody expected this. Finally, the woman at the very top of the Indiana Fever organization said the quiet part out loud. Her comments did more than raise eyebrows. They sent shockwaves throughout the basketball world, revealing the realities of franchise politics, pressure, locker room dynamics, and the ongoing struggle between building a championship team and building a lasting brand. And once you hear the full story, everything you thought you knew about Caitlin Clark's situation in Indiana begins to change. Now, let's go back to where it all started. Before Caitlin Clark ever put on an Indiana Fever jersey, the franchise was one of the least recognizable teams in professional basketball. They won just 6 games in 2021, 5 in 2022, and 13 in 2023. For nearly a decade, they had become an afterthought, with empty seats, little attention, and almost no national spotlight. But everything changed when the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft walked through the door. Caitlin Clark didn't just transform the Fever, she changed the entire league. Arenas sold out wherever she played, television ratings reached record highs, jerseys flew off the shelves, and women's basketball experienced a level of attention it had never seen before. Faced with that unprecedented momentum, the organization had to decide whether to embrace the wave or try to shape it. In an effort to lead the franchise into a new era, the Fever hired Kelly Krauskopf as president of basketball and business operations. On paper, it seemed like the perfect move. She had helped build the franchise, was part of the 2012 championship organization, and understood the team better than almost anyone. However, during her introductory press conference, she made a comment that went largely unnoticed at the time, but would later ignite widespread debate. As the Fever struggled through July 2025, while Clark dealt with a lingering groin injury that limited her to just 11 games, social media users rediscovered footage from that original press conference. Looking directly into the cameras, Krauskopf said, "This is about the Indiana Fever. Yes, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston are our foundational players, and we'll continue building around them. But I want this franchise to become a lasting brand like Apple." Those 5 words, a brand like Apple, were all it took to spark controversy. Within hours, the clip spread across social media, with many fans interpreting the comparison as a sign that the organization viewed Clark as just one piece of the puzzle instead of the centerpiece of the franchise. Because Apple is so closely associated with Steve Jobs, supporters believe the analogy unintentionally downplayed Clark's importance. Social media exploded with criticism, with many arguing that you don't minimize the greatest opportunity the franchise has ever had. One fan wrote that Apple became a global icon because of Steve Jobs, while another warned that the Fever would eventually regret wasting the biggest opportunity in women's basketball if Clark ever decided to leave. The criticism became impossible to ignore, and only hours after the clip went viral, Krauskopf's social media account suddenly disappeared. Rather than responding publicly, the organization remained silent. Yet while the front office was facing intense backlash online, the players who shared the court with Caitlin Clark every night were telling a much different and far more personal story, beginning with one of her closest teammates, Lexi Hull. Hull revealed what almost nobody inside the Fever organization had publicly admitted before. She said everyone around the league already knew there was jealousy surrounding the Indiana Fever because of the massive media attention and fan support that arrived with Caitlin Clark. According to Hull, opposing teams openly talked in their own locker rooms about not letting the Fever win. Her comments painted a picture of a team that had become a target, not because of its overall success, but because of one player who had transformed the league's spotlight. Sophie Cunningham echoed that sentiment. After establishing herself as Clark's on-court protector, Cunningham said she had heard similar conversations while still playing in Phoenix, where opponents weren't simply trying to win games, they were trying to send a message. Throughout the season, Clark's physical treatment became one of the league's biggest storylines. By the time a groin injury ended her season after just 13 games, many observers questioned whether officials had done enough to protect her. An increasing number believed the answer was no. Yet while that debate played out publicly, another story was quietly unfolding behind the scenes. Critics had long claimed Clark created tension inside the locker room, and that her teammates resented the attention surrounding her. Hall of Famer Cheryl Swoops even suggested on a podcast that key Fever players were growing tired of the situation. But Clark addressed those rumors calmly during a March Madness appearance, saying people often believe they know what happens behind closed doors when they really don't. More importantly, her teammates consistently backed up her words through their actions. After her return from injury, they celebrated with her, interrupted interviews to include her, and shared genuine moments together following the Commissioner's Cup victory. Their chemistry looked authentic rather than staged. The real question was never whether Caitlin Clark's teammates supported her. It was whether the front office was willing to build the right team around her and fully commit to maximizing her potential. Clark developed genuine relationships with teammates like Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, Michaela Timpson, Christy Wallace, and Chloe Bibby, frequently showing her appreciation publicly. Those friendships were real, but strong relationships alone don't win championships. That was the central tension. Many critics focused only on Kelly Krauskopf's Apple comparison while overlooking the broader points she made during her October 2024 press conference. She spoke about building a franchise that would last for generations, noting that Caitlin Clark was only 10 years old when the Fever won their lone championship in 2012 and suggesting the organization hoped to inspire the next generation of young fans. Whether that reflected long-term vision or misplaced priorities remains open to interpretation. One fact, however, is difficult to dispute. Beginning in 2024, fans weren't packing arenas because of a brand. They were showing up because of Caitlin Clark. The WNBA had never experienced crowds or revenue like the numbers Caitlin Clark generated. Attendance reached levels the league had never projected, and when injuries sidelined Clark, the impact was immediate and measurable. Ticket sales declined, television ratings dropped, and the reality of what she meant to the Indiana Fever became impossible to ignore. Yet the organization's message continued to focus on the franchise, the brand, and the institution, almost as if the player driving all that attention existed separately from it. During her press conference, Kelly Krauskopf made one statement that stood out. If you're a smart basketball player and you watch how she plays, you want to play alongside her. That prediction proved even more accurate than she may have realized. The Fever quietly became one of the league's most attractive destinations, with veteran players reportedly willing to accept smaller contracts for the chance to play beside Clark. Her influence extended far beyond sold-out arenas. Players wanted to be part of the excitement and energy she brought to the league, making Indiana one of the WNBA's premier destinations. Not because of a branding strategy, but because of a generational basketball player who elevated everyone around her while filling arenas wherever she played. Looking ahead to 2026, however, the franchise faced new challenges. The Fever lost Chloe Bibby to Portland and Christy Wallace to Toronto in the WNBA expansion draft, while Clark endured what was supposed to be her breakout second season, but instead became an injury-plagued campaign that limited her to just 13 regular season games. Even so, she averaged 16.5 points, 8.5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game and still earned an All-Star selection. Despite spending much of the season on the sidelines, she remained the league's biggest attraction. Behind the scenes, the Fever continued building what Krauskopf described as the foundation for the future, a $78 million performance center scheduled to open in 2027, designed to attract elite talent for years to come. The infrastructure was falling into place. The real question was whether the decision-makers fully understood the opportunity sitting right in front of them, and whether they would act before it slipped away. Beneath every debate about the front office, every discussion about Clark's teammates, and every rumor about locker room tension lies a much simpler reality. In the span of 1 year, the Fever transformed from a team winning only a handful of games into the most-watched franchise in women's basketball. That wasn't a rebuild, it was a revolution. And revolutions are not created by branding strategies or marketing campaigns. They're created by once-in-a-generation athletes who captivate audiences, fuel competition, and redefine what's possible. That's why so many fans reacted strongly to the Fever president's comments about building a brand like Apple. They feared the organization might value the brand over the superstar who made that brand possible. Meanwhile, Clark's teammates consistently showed through interviews, social media, and their actions on the court that they recognized the rare opportunity they had. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. The Fever's future depends on whether the people leading the organization recognize that same truth. The window is open today. The question isn't whether the opportunity exists, it's whether the organization is bold enough to seize it before it's too late. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Asadon GNFND KJJFB KJN KF DFN NFFGVOM NFVKVFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFF